Yes. Hang on. Oh. Hmm. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Enhanced Sports Show. It's just after 4 o'clock in the Northeast. My name is Luke Tenors. You probably know by now. We got a lot to cover, of course, as usual. The number to call is 512-543-4662. Once again, 512-543-4662. For those who are just tuning in for the first time or are still fairly new, we had to wait till 4:05 to get started. I had to do the 2-minute introduction. So that's why some of you might be thinking, hey, is he coming on or not? You just have to bear with me on that. But at least we're all here, present and accounted for. All right. So it's still finals week, everybody. The NHL and NBA finals are now in the midst of their playoff series. Last night, the Nuggets took care of Miami in Miami territory. Now lead the series 3-1, much to my surprise. I thought maybe that Jimmy Buckets was going to set up, for making the series even at 2 games apiece. Not to be. And the NHL, well, I know we were thinking a sweep, but nope, did not happen. Florida Panthers came back with the win on Thursday night in overtime. So now we got a little bit of a series though against the Golden Knights. Florida looks strong. I mean, and this was the first game that the biggest Golden Knights were trailing and didn't come back to win it in about 10 games. They've been the comeback players to take the series, but that was not to be. So it sets up for a very interesting couple of days. Miami, the Nuggets can close out Monday night with a win against Miami, which I think everybody was expecting. And Tuesday, well, depending on if the Knights win tonight, they can close out on Tuesday against the Panthers. And Florida's is enjoying this, I think. But if they lose both series, it's going to be a miserable time in Florida. That's for sure. All right. So to sum up on this, yeah, I think I'll start with the on the Miami side. Despite last night's loss to the Nuggets, Miami Heat coach Eric Spoelstra remains confident the Heat can come back and win this series, even though trailing 3-1. At this point, I doubt it. Spoelstra said after the game, anything you feel tonight is fine with me. You probably won't get much sleep tonight. I don't think anybody will. Well, that's an understatement. Going into that series, you do kind of lose sleep with that, and because there's a lot of pressure going on, especially when you're down in the series. You got to pull up everything you can to get back in. All right. Yeah, who just buzzed in? Oh, oh, hey, I thought you were watching the Met game. Oh boy, I'll get to the Met game in a little bit because that team has gone down the drain. Oh, Matt's here too, and Reese is here, I think, and I think Reese is here, right, Trenton? Okay, all right. So anyway, yeah, because when you're dealing with that kind of pressure going into this series and you're trailing, things can get a little bit uneasy because this is do or die right now, and for the Heat, it definitely is a do or die situation. He said, "We're a very competitive group. We've done everything the hard way, and now has to turn things around very quickly." He said, "We all are focused now getting back to 305, the Miami area code, that is, and get back to Miami, and things can shift very quickly," which is true. We get the opportunity to play a super competitive environment, and now we have to get our act together. Jimmy Butler echoed the confidence, saying the Heat will find its way back into the series. Although the way they were playing in Game Four last night, that might be a little bit hard to come by. They did cut the lead down to 5 points towards in the middle of the fourth quarter, but uh, I think that the Nuggets just have too many weapons on offense, and that's how they're able to battle back and the lead. And not for nothing, but Jamal Murray, was fantastic. He had Well, it wasn't that great. 15 points, 5 for 17 shooting, but he did not commit a turnover and had 12 assists. So that's not too bad. And Nicola and the Joker, well, he had 5 fouls and had to leave the game early in the fourth. So that was a chance for Heat to catch up. But once Joker got back into the game, things turned around in a hurry. And Jamal Murray buried a three that helped put the game out of reach for Miami at that. So, what do we make of going into Game Five on Monday? Do the Heat really stand a chance in being the Denver Nuggets? So, let me see who I'm going to start with today. I'm going to start with something by here. Oh, all right. Start with, all right, we'll start with Taylor first. Yes, he's Steve there. Steve Davidson, are you there? Hmm. Hmm. Steve Kent. No, 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 no. Yes, they are. I think maybe I think maybe the problem is Steve. Oh, sorry. I think maybe that Miami might be a little bit too burnt out. I mean, they play a grueling 7 game series that they could have won in six if it wasn't for that miraculous basket by Boston in Game 6. I think maybe this took a lot out of them, and they're losing steam. I mean, you played a tested series, and they can do it, and they can do the damage. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah, especially Gabe Benson. Especially Gabe Benson. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Because I was gonna. Yeah. Right. Matt. Yeah. This is like I thought it was gonna be. I mean, I was not expecting a sweep in this series. I thought maybe, of course, maybe we'll win at least one game. Um, it's going almost exactly as I thought, but it's in the wrong order. I thought maybe Miami would win. Like I thought, Denver would take the first two at home, which they did not. Then Miami would win one of two games in Miami, and then Denver would close out when they got back. So it's almost going as I expected it, except for that little hiccup in game two. Other than that, it's gone exactly as I thought it was going to go. And, Miami is just losing steam. Aaron Gordon hit 27 points for a game high, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists after layup. And then Miami got within six. But when Murray found Jeff Green in the corner with three, and Joe coming back with 4 minutes left, the Heat cooled off. No pun intended, of course. Oh, boy. Yeah, I think the Heat will wrap up Monday night, and it'll give Denver, the Nuggets, their first ever NBA championship. In fact, their first championship in basketball, period. They did not win the NBA, so this would be their first basketball championship overall. So, and I guess you can say it'll be a Rocky Mountain High. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Womp womp. I had to resist. Would you state your name for the record, please? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you're gonna say that it's gonna be Denver all the way? Okay. So all right. So moving on to the NHL. It's getting a little bit interesting. I really thought we were gonna have a sweep, but Florida Panthers had woke up on Thursday night, and if they can keep a game like they did on Thursday, they may have a chance. Low scoring and whatnot, and better defense because the offense that for Vegas has been unstoppable. They've exploded. I mean, in the first two games, they exploded and they were just all over the place. And Florida didn't have much of a chance. But game three was a bit different, and the Panthers were able to come back. And Gerald's here. Gerald, who do you have for game five with the Nuggets and Miami? You think he'll take it Monday night? It's unanimous. So if the Florida Panthers can keep up the pace that they did in Thursday night, this might be a surprise. I know you're thinking, Louis, you're crazy. I mean, Vegas has been hot all year. Yes, they have. But, Florida isn't the underdogs for nothing. And of course, my brother would probably think the same thing because he's now become a hockey fan, I think, especially of the Florida Panthers. And yes, they are. Well, they've had to come back. They've trailed in most of the games, except in game two in this final series, but they didn't come back this time. When Florida tied the game up near the end of the third period, I'm like, oh boy, this could be a long evening. But then Florida scored the winning goal about 6 minutes into overtime. Yep. And now we got a series. So got game four tonight. So Steve Davidson, who do you like in this series between the Knights and the Panthers? You right, I get it. Steve Kent. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Lead season for possible. You've got to. You've got to bring your A game. Yes. Oh yeah. You very well could. Taylor, your thoughts? Excuse me. Yes. Yes. Ah. No. Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Matt. Um, yes, Matt. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I get Gerald. Yes. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Okay. Incidentally, and the way it was Matthew Tkachuk scored the goal late in regulation, and Carter Uh, Verhage scored the winning goal at 4:27 overtime, and the Panthers' overtime record is 7-0. So it's not that. So it's pretty good. They can count them in overtime. The Chuck said after two disastrous games in Vegas, the Panthers felt that many did not believe they could rally back in the series. I'm sure some Panthers players thought that too. So the Panthers found their way back in the series, but this was their first ever final series win because in 1986 they went to the finals and got swept by the Avalanche, and didn't put much of a fight there. Yeah, three players: the Chuck, goaltender Sergei Brodsky, uh, and Vennerhy and Brodsky all made the difference in Game Three. The Chuck factored in both goals in regulation. He sent up Brandon Montour for the opening goal, and it was the 1 point Montour since Game Two of the second round. But the Chuck's night took a dramatic turn after Montour's goal was scored. He received a pass from his own zone in the blue line. Oh boy. As he turned up the ice, Keegan Kolsar put his shoulder onto Chuck, knocking the Panthers star down to the ice. That was ugly. Uh, the Chuck was examined by a team doctor. He returned for one shift, but then left the ice and bench and did not return for the remainder of that period. But he did come back for the third. He was pulled, returned to the bench though at the 4:26 mark. Borowski said he'll come back. He's a tough player and he can get through anything. And he was right. Talk about a late bloomer. Seven of the Chucks' 11 goals have scored in the third period or in overtime. This was the first time 11 games the Knights held a lead after the second period, and they lost. This was Verhage's seventh goal of the playoffs and his first in a final. So if they can keep that kind of a pace up, this could be an interesting series. Maybe. It's possible. We can see what happens here. Um, Also, the Blackhawks have locked up one of their top scorers, agreeing for 2 years, 8.5 million on forward. Taylor, this name might sound familiar. Andreas Athanasiou. Yep. He's a former Red Wing. Or as they say, Andreas is happy to see you too. Oh no. Never mind. Uh That's the CU tied for team lead with 20 goals and ranked third with 40 points in his first season with the Blackhawks. Unfortunately, it was another season down the twos for Chicago. Ugh, was it ever? Ugh. He matched his career high with four game-winning goals and three power play goals. That's the only bright spot. Athens CU has 125 goals and 111 assists in 459 career games for the Kings, Blackhawks, Oilers, and Taylor's team, the Red Wings. Once upon a time when both teams were good. The Blackhawks were dead last in the Central Division with a miserable 26-49-7 record this past season. Yuck. The Blackhawks fell yeah, the Blackhawks dealt Patrick Kane to the Rangers prior to the trade deadline, and hoping that was going to do my team some good. Only got to the second round of the playoffs. And they announced in April that he would not resign. Jonathan Toews parted with two players who led them to three Stanley Cups in 2010, 2013, and 2015. And 2010 remains the strangest goal I've ever seen to win a Stanley Cup. The Phantom goal. uh, I think well, you might remember that, Taylor, that goal in 2010 that won the Blackhawks' first championship since the dinosaur era. Well, almost the dinosaur era. That's a joke. That was a joke. Well, yeah, yeah. No. No, since since 1961. Yeah, that was the dinosaur era, though. Yeah, that's what I meant because it was well, yeah, well for some people, because I wasn't even born yet, so you get the idea. All right. Back to basketball for a minute. Yeah, kind of bouncing around because I do these notes in advance. Uh, Bucks star Chris Middleton underwent a surgical procedure on his left knee after the historic first round upset against the Miami Heat, and boy, that was upsetting. Uh, Sources confirmed to ESPN by the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Middleton is expected to make a full recovery and resume working on the court by sometime next month. Middleton has dealt with knee issues all season. He entered his Last season. He injured his knee during the first round series win over the Bulls, and that caused the injury to miss the second round series to the Boston Celtics. He was only able to play 33 games this season with a combination of other issues, including his right knee and recovery from left wrist surgery in the last offseason. Okay. So here's what more you can say: he's accident prone. He did average 15.1 points per game, along with 4.9 assists and 4.2 rebounds in the regular season, before jumping to a massive 23.8 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 6.2 assists before losing in that first round series to Miami. Milton can opt into a $40.3 million player option for next season or become an unrestricted free agent if he chooses to opt out. Oh, gee, what to do? I mean, 40.3 million, I think I take it. Milton and Brook Lopez will be the two most intriguing free agents this summer after losing in the first round of the Bucks and after coach Mike Budenholzer was replaced by Adrian Griffin, which I still think was unnecessary even to get fired after having a spectacular regular season. Okay, you choked in the first round of the playoffs, but still, I don't think there was any reason to fire him. All right, so at least Middleton will be back, and maybe the Bucks will be able to regroup from that historic upset from last season. Any thoughts on Middleton's progress? Anybody? Yes. Uh, Steve. Uh, Steve Davidson. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, when you get an injury like that, especially in a atmosphere like that, a playoff atmosphere, you're not yourself, and you kind of lose it. So I can understand that. I mean, it does take a lot out of you when you by coming. Okay, sure, right. Matt, your thoughts? I'll get back to. Okay, Taylor, your thoughts on Middleton? Yeah. Yes, or the Yucks. Yeah. Hmm. Ah, Woj. Yep, good old Woj. Yeah. Well, one thing we. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Speaking of hurt, speaking of hurt guys, I think we can add one major difference why the Heat have been struggling because one of your best players on the team has not played in this series yet, namely Tyler Zero. That means Hero. He hasn't been cleared to play in the finals yet, as he still retries. Yeah, I mean he's still recovering from a broken hand, so he's still not cleared to play yet. So without him, I think the Heat are in more trouble than I think we think they are. Yeah. Well, still, but Steve. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Since 2 months. So it's yeah, yeah. Well, I thought yeah, yeah. But Gabe Vincent's been stepping up. Yeah, but Vincent's been stepping up a lot, for the team, and but unfortunately in the finals, it hasn't been. Yeah, but in the finals he hasn't, been able to hold it that much. So I think they're really starting to miss. I think they're starting to miss, to miss him. So I think that's a big setback for the Heat. Yes, they are. Hmm. Yeah. So I think that's what Miami's been missing, and it's starting to show. Yeah. So they do. You can play hard. Yeah. I mean, you can play hard all you want, but when you're missing some of your best players, it's a lot to make up ground. So this is so it's a big loss for the Heat without their hero. Oh, without their hero. Okay, you get the point. Yeah. Just watch out, then turn to be a zero. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm, right. Okay. Oh boy. Before I get some more bad jokes in, okay. Right. So on to more news here. The NBA now. Get this, guys. The NBA is considering a second coaching challenge for an official, providing a first challenge is successful. Uh, Brian Spurl, the league's president of basketball operations, said that the idea would be discussed in a meeting that happened on Thursday, meeting with the league's competition committee. We are looking into it. As said in the NBA today, the committee will review over the summer. It's still a process that we still have to get through. The board of governors vote over the summer, and then we have to test it as well. But we feel like it's a movement that we need to see. I think I happen to agree because some of these challenge calls, they get a little out of hand. They don't agree with what happened here. So I think a second challenge, I think, would be necessary if all goes according to plan. The coaches challenge was introduced in 2019, 2020, the year of the pandemic, allowing coaches to trigger instant replay review on a call personal foul charged to his team on a called out of bounds violation or called goaltending or call basket interference violation. Reviews of goaltending, basket interference, or out of bounds in the final 2 minutes of the fourth and overtime are triggered only by the officials and are not subject to a coach's challenge. Under the current rule, coaches are only limited to one challenge per game. A successful challenge results in the team keeping their timeout that was used to trigger the review. Coaches are usually hesitant to challenge a call earlier in games, of course, even if it's clearly wrong, because they want to reserve the option for crunch time situations. I can't argue with that. Under this new so called proposal, the team would be allowed to keep the timeout with a successful challenge and be given another to be used later in the game. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think a second challenge, I think, could be necessary, especially in those game situations. So, I'm all for it. Of course, you got to see how it's gonna, how it's gonna pass. But I think the board of governors will agree that this will be a legitimate rule change that should be necessary. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens over the summer. If I do transfer. Hmm. Well, right. No, too high to count. That's how many. It is ridiculous. That second challenge is needed. It is. Yeah, I do too. So, I'm all for it. Anyone else have any thoughts? Okay. Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Uh, Anybody else have any thoughts? Going once, going twice. Oh, okay. No sale. All right. On to the soccer. Well, guess what, guys? Lionel Messi, he's coming to MLS. That's the good news. The bad news is he's not coming to the Red Bulls. Well, it's bad news for me, as he is. Yeah, gonna join the Miami Heat. Okay, I get it though. He has property there. He has vacation home and has a home there in Miami. So I think that's where he wants to be. Okay, I can't blame him. Although I don't like the result because the Red Bulls are my team and we could have used a star like him. Right. Messi made the announcement about his next club in interviews with Spanish publications known as Mundo Deportivo and Sport. Sports is Spanish publication? Okay. Messi, who won the World Cup with Argentina, was linked to a return with Barcelona, as well as a possible move to Saudi Arabia, but decided to join the Miami franchise, which is co owned by, you guessed it, David Beckham like Bendham. I have made the decision that I'm going to Miami. I still haven't figured out. I don't have agreed to 100%. There are still a few things I need, but will be decided to continue my path down there, said Messi. After winning the World Cup and not being able to return to Barcelona, it was my turn to go to the league of the U.S. to play live football, or as we call it, soccer, and another way to enjoy the day more. Obviously, with the same responsibility and desire to play well and do things in a much calmer way. The arrival of Messi is the biggest thing of signing of MLS since Beckham when he played for the LA Galaxy, which caused quite a sensation when he came along. His arrival would be a major boost to the Miami team, which is at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and dismissed coach Phil Neville last week. So, any soccer crazed fans we have here in the crowd today? Because I think this is big news, and it's going to be a major fact. I think it's going to be a welcome addition to MLS. 4 years. Is, is that our money or their money? Her. Yeah. 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 Gerald, what do you make of that with Messi coming to the states to play MLS soccer? Too bad for Miami. I wish. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I was hoping we'd come over this way, or maybe even to Dallas, because they can use some help too. The Metro Stars really need some help. Uh, Matt Taylor, any thoughts? Okay. Matt, any thoughts? All right. Wow. Obviously not. Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. Easily. Yeah. Okay. One more basketball note here. Go ahead. Oh, obviously. Right. Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you. Oh boy. I'll take them. I'll take the tickets. Yeah. Yeah. You're a DC fan though, Steve. Not, you know. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, all-star forwards Brandon Ingram and the Pelicans, Jaren Jackson Jr. Well, Brandon Ingram of the Pelicans and Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Grizzlies are committed to playing for Team USA in the upcoming FIBA World Basketball Championships that'll be this summer in the Philippines. USA Basketball Director Grant Hill and head coach Steve Kerr are still finalizing the 12-man roster to compete in the event in Manila starting in August 25th. And Steve, now you're thinking, well, Steve Jason, it's a thriller in Manila. Oh boy, yeah, okay. The roster is still in flux and is expected to be officially determined by the end of the month. The World Cup roster, though, will be different than the roster for the 2024 Summer Games. However, there could be some similarities between the two teams, and they'll begin. Well, we'll find out. Hey, Steve, your voice changed? Oh, it's Diane. Okay. Well, don't forget, Diane, that the Olympics, I think, is going to use all the professional players from the NBA. I think this one is more of a mixture um, for the World Cup. Yes, because basketball does have a World Cup. Basketball does have a World Cup competition. It doesn't get as much prestige as World Cup soccer, but it does exist. Just to give you something on that, because you're probably thinking, there's a World Cup in basketball. Yes. Okay, now for one of the big stories of the week. For instance, any golf fans out there? Oh, come on, I got to have one in the crowd. Come on. Oh, okay. So, anywho, the PGA, the Live Tour, and DP Golf League, I kind of forgot about that one, um, which have been involved in the ballot source for the past year, have officially agreed to unify and move towards a larger commercial business. The circuits on Tuesday. The tours are called a study development and a landmark agreement on a global basis. There has been a lot of tension in the sport in the past few years, said Jay Mahan, the PGA commissioner, and told CNBC. That's an unusual outlet, though. Um, what we are talking about is coming together to unify the sport of golf and to do so under one umbrella. That's a big umbrella. We recognize together we can have a far greater impact on the game than we can if we work apart. I agree. The game of golf is better for what we have done here today, or Tuesday, as the case may be. The landmark deals between the tours and the Saudi Arabia's public government fund was reached without the knowledge of many of the PGA tour members and Live Golf members and agents. One PGA one PGA Tour member told ESPN today, "Say what?" That was my reaction too. A golf agent who represents a few high-profile LAV golfers not mentioned by name told ESPN that he was not aware of the merger. The golfers were not mentioned by name, and neither was the agent. And despite what Roy McIlroy thinks, because he hates this, he hates the LAV as much as I know somebody who hates the Yankees. Well, guess what? Despite your hatred for the sport, Roy, it's not going away, unfortunately. So, you know, a lot of the PGA golfers were up in the uproar over when this new league came along, and I find it strange that the LAV golfers were playing in the PGA tournament because, like I said, it's the PGA tournament, not the PGA LAV tournament. So that caused an uproar there, which I thought was going to happen. And I'm not surprised this merger happened, to be honest with you. I mean, some people said, "Wow, this happened." I don't believe it. Well, I knew something was going to happen. I just didn't think maybe it was going to happen this soon. I thought maybe it'd be like a year away or whatnot. But you know, it was. But I do think it was necessary for this merger to happen so they can stop bickering of who's like the better golf league and whatnot. So at least we got that done. So if there's any golf fans out there who want to come on this, feel free to do so. This one's at random. Yeah, yeah, sure. By the way, are you going to use a 5 iron for that, Steve? Oh no. Oh, okay. Oh boy, it's a little golf humor, folks. Sheesh. So continuing on with the story here, because I do have some more of it, including McElroy's comments. Uh, he says he hopes it would go away, but an official from the rival league said, "No, forget it. We know the big picture," a source said. "We don't know the details because this is only the beginning of the merger and acquisition process that we worked out through the coming weeks. I know there's going to be a lot of questions answered, but the LAV is not going anywhere, whether you like it or not. we are, we are, we are, we are, and we will continue to be a standalone identity. It's business as usual for us for this year and beyond." That's what Greg Norman told LAV officials in a teleconference on Thursday. Norman, who is the CEO as well as the commissioner, was kept in the dark, just about everyone else in men's golf was, about the new alliance between the Saudi Arabia's public interest fund that financed the LAV, the PGA, and the DP. I kind of forgot the DP Golf League. So this was big news, guys. And to some of you who don't like it, well, I don't know what to tell you, but you're out of luck. Hey, Steve, do you want to mention about? Yeah, right. No, no, I know. See, that was a problem I had. That was a problem I had with it because Saudi Arabia. Yeah, right. Hmm. Absolutely. Sure. Exactly. I don't blame him. No, you're right. Of course. Yes. Hmm. Exactly. That's exactly the point. So I wasn't too thrilled about this. Well, I wasn't too thrilled about this leak either when I heard about where the source is coming from. So, so I can understand the anger. Yeah, but at least now they're going to be at peace, I think. Mm. That merger. Yeah. Well, it reminds me of the merger. It reminds me of a commercial I remember years ago. It's not related to the event, but no, I'll explain it later. but it's kind of hilarious. So anyway, on to a more serious subject. The wrestling world lost a great legend this past week, the Iron Sheik. Yes, he was known as a villain, of course, in the WWE, but he was a legend. I mean, fighting with some of the greatest wrestlers, especially this Hulk Hogan, and it started with WrestleMania and whatnot. And of course, he defeated the Iron Sheik yeah, in a match prior to that, and it would start with WrestleMania, which become a global phenomenon, and it's now lasted for like the last 35 years, and also was also involved in real wrestling, um, the Greco-Roman wrestling, and almost made the '72 Olympic team, and then started a career here in the states. I also coached a Greco-Roman team, so he was a colorful figure, uh, liked by some, not so much liked by others, but he definitely was one of the wrestlers that put WWF on the map in the 1980s. Yes, for those of you younger generation people, it was called the WWF before it was called the WWE. So just to make a note of that. Steve, I know you're like one of the biggest wrestling fans I know. Can you give can you give a little bit more from the Iron Sheik and his passing, and what he did for wrestling? Yes. Yeah. Back. Yeah. Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Right. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yes. Right. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yes. All right. All right. So, Diane, any trivia you want to put in? Much clearer today, too. Okay. Uh-huh. Um, Barkley. Yeah. Barkley. Barkley. It's not Barkley. Okay. Hakeem Olajuwon, the human highlight reel. That's right. Yep. Right. Came out by Slamma Jamma. Jerry Tacani. I think it's Larry Brown. Larry Brown. Larry Brown. Yep. Mm, I do. Yes. Mm. Uh, Go ahead, say it. Go ahead, say it. Will Chamberlain. Yep. Now Golden State. Now Golden State. Yep. Exactly. And still has the record for most points scored in a single. Yeah. And still holds the record for most points in a single game. Okay, so yep. All right, so we'll move on. They don't want this show. Okay. The Suns hired David Fizdale as assistant coach, turning him luring him out of the Jazz front office with a substantial deal, sources told ESPN. Fizdale joined the Jazz office as associate general manager last season. He has a history with the Suns new head coach Frank Vogel, and even longer history with general manager James Jones. Fizdale joins associate coach Kevin Young on Vogel's coaching staff. The Suns made Fizdale the highest assistant coach at 2 million per season. Sources said before making a financial commitment to Fizdale. The Suns have been determined to surround Vogel with an accomplished and veteran staff. He was head coach of both the Knicks and Grizzlies for parts of 4 seasons and took the Grizzlies to the Western Conference Finals. But overall, his record is a miserable 71-134. Yeah, somehow I don't know it's going to be a good move for Fizdale and the Suns. Oh yeah, but that's a horrible record. I do, yes. All right. All right, there's been a lot of talk about the newest NBA draft player that's going to be drafted this month. Victor Wembanyama. He's going to have a pretty big schedule for June. He's going to be playing the French finals that have begun this week, and then the Spurs are to select him first in the overall draft. So this could be, and this means if the star from France comes to debut in Sacramento in Vegas, the NBA will have no problem with that. Um, League Commissioner Adam Silver says that he does not have a preference regarding the site of Wembanyama's first game. with the Spurs, while the NBA Summer League is the biggest of all three teams and commands most of the attention. There are smaller summer leagues that precede the Vegas event by a few days. Sacramento plays host to one of those smaller events, and the Spurs are one of six teams had this season. But all summer league games are NBA summer league games to the commissioner. That's true. He told the Associated Press, "I'm very supportive of the Sacramento League. I remember when Kings owner Vitek Randabog came into the league and said, there's something, this is something that was supposed what he wanted to do. As long as you have enough teams who support it and players who want to play in it, then it's a good thing." They're making a big deal about Wembanyama, but he hasn't even played a game yet. He's played you know, in one of the European leagues, which plays a different style of basketball. I mean, we know how some of these players can be. They get all the hype, but in reality, when they do come, they kind of, become a letdown, lackluster when they get here. So, yeah, yeah. But I mean, they well, what about Ben Simmons? Exactly. I mean, he was hyped up, but what did he do? Nothing. He could be. Yeah, but the thing is though, I mean, you get all these hyped up players, and they kind of be a bust later on. Because look what Simmons has done. Nothing. He was all hyped up. I mean, he was even thought one of the greatest 50 players before he even played a game. And What does he do? What did he do when the time he's been here? Nothing. Yeah. No, 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 of course not. Hmm. Right, of course. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. And yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts? How about you, Taylor? Okay. Exactly. Any other thoughts? Anybody? No, he doesn't. Right. That's all. And speaking of LeBron, yeah. Hmm. No. Right. Right. I don't. I don't know. They don't. Hmm. Okay, so we'll move on. Here, gonna move on. And speaking of LeBron, he is the official star for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, according to race organizers. That's right, he is. The Lakers forward and NBA all-time scoring leader and four-time champion joined the list of stars who carried the ceremonial role over the decades. Brad Pitt was a star in 2016. Steve McQueen lowered the flag in 1971 and starred in the movie called Le Mans that same year. So this is not unusual, guys. And King James, he's an all-time movie star. Right? And I think he's related to someone we know. King James unleashed the 62 racer field when the race began. I think it started at 8 o'clock this morning, our time, if I'm not mistaken. something like that. And Taylor should like this. Former Houston Rockets coach Steven Stills has agreed to join the Pistons as assistant coach to Monty Williams. Shows at ESPN. Taylor, I'm sure you've heard about that. Hmm. All right. Silas was fired by the Rockets after his team finished with a miserable 22 and 60 record. In 3 seasons, he was a miserable, pathetic 59 and 177 as a Rockets head coach. To put it this way, the Rockets never got off the ground. Okay. The Pistons agreed to hire. Yes, a big problem. Yeah. Yes. Well, let's put it this way. Houston, you don't have a problem. Houston, you are the problem. Okay. Yes. Right. Anyway, yes. So he was previously a top assistant coach with the Mavericks, Hornets, and Warriors. The Pistons agreed to hire Williams as their new head coach last week. Terms were not disclosed, but sources told ESPN that Williams agreed to a 6-year deal worth $78.5 million, the largest deal for a coach in NBA history. Williams was fired on May 13th, just 2 years after reaching the finals and a year after winning Coach of the Year honors. The Pistons this season were 17 and 65 will have the fifth selection in the draft on the 22nd. So, Taylor, your any more thoughts? Yeah. Yeah, that is a problem. Right. Okay. Okay. They are right, Coach. Yes. Hmm. Okay. Okay. So I gotta move on. All right. Well, I suppose you've heard about we had some fire smoke problems this past week, and it canceled some events in the sports world over the past couple of days. I'm glad to tell you that the problem has now been cleared up, and the Belmont Stakes are going to go on today. They were thinking of canceling it, and in fact, rumor had they did cancel it as of Thursday, but that has now been completely denied, and the race will go off as scheduled tonight at 7 o'clock or just thereafter. And we have the list of 9 horses that will be competing in this year's event, the last of the Triple Crown. And get this, 2 of the horses have the same first name. I kid you not. Number 1 is Tappet Shoes. Number 2 is Tappet Trice. Must be an epidemic here. Number 3 is Arco Arcangelo. Number 4, National Treasure. I thought the movie was actually better. Oh boy. Number 5 is Il Morlanico. Number 6 is Forte. Number 7, Hit Show. Number 8, Angel of the Empire. And number 9, Red Route 1. Hmm. Yeah. Voting. Hmm. Yeah. So right. Those are the pre races. And of course, there's been a lot of, horses that have come down with some serious injury, had to be put to euthanized in the last 2 races. So it's been a pretty scary time in the racing world the past month. And so that's kind of sad when you think about it, but I'm hoping this race will go without any major problems here. We have another call from the DC area, I think. Would you state your name, please, for the record? Washington, you're there. Hello, Washington. Yes, yes, you. Springfield. Springfield, which one? Okay. Will you say your name, please? Saul McGee. Ah, don't forget, guys, Saul has a great show coming up after this show is over, so you might want to check him out. Okay. Oh, and don't forget, guys, you can also check this show out on YouTube after the show. Just go to YouTube and type in The Enhanced Sports Show. Remember, type it in, though, in the exact words, please. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. So we were just discussing the Belmont Stakes, McGee, but I don't know if you follow horse racing or not, but I don't know if you heard the list, but have you got any favorites? Okay, right. Right. Anyone else have any thoughts on the race? I got my favorite. Okay, then I'll just give you mine then. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Angel of the Empire. Sounds like a good. Sounds like the next. That's like a lost Star Wars picture. Oh boy. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's put it this way: is anybody not going? Okay. Is there anybody who's not going for Angel of the Empire? Okay. Okay. Then we'll call it unanimous. Yeah. So, Rousseau, what would you like to discuss before I move on to anything else? Yep. Okay. Right. Yeah. I think he will. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, right. Hmm. He does. Yes. 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 Mhm. Yes. Yeah. No. Mhm. Right. Mhm. That could be a problem. By yeah. By the way, Russell, who do you got for the final? Do you think Miami's gonna come back and win, or is this Denver's to take? Uh-huh. It's a wrap. Yes. Diane, your thoughts on Panthers Vegas. Okay. All right. One more golf note here. Victor Hovland was happy with his three tour victories, even though they're resort courses that were soft and susceptible to firing at flags. He wanted to win on American soil with par was the premium, and I got every bit of it. And last week at the Memorial Tournament, aka golf's fifth major, 2 shots behind and facing the toughest 3 holes at Murfield Village, Hovland set his sights on the score instead of the leader, Denny McCarthy, and delivered his best stuff of the day. Hovland made a birdie that only one was made at the 17th hole around a two-par stage for a 270 that forced him into a playoff where he beat McCarthy 7-foot par to win the Memorial, which is in preparation for next week's U.S. Open. I wonder why they have 2 majors 2 weeks apart. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Some people, okay, I'll put it this way: some people think it's a major, some people think it's not. But the PGA recognizes it as a major. Yes, then it counts. I'm very glad that before I start some controversy. Okay, very tragic story though this past week. You guys, I don't know how we're gonna take this, but we'll give it a try. A motorcycle rider perished, and a triathlete was seriously injured in the Ironman triathlon competition in Germany last week. Oh boy! The rider who was carrying a camera operator crashed head-on with the cyclist at a narrow part of the race where both lanes were used by both competitors and motorbikes carrying camera operators that were riding down the middle of the road. The crash occurred on live TV before German broadcaster ARD interrupted the transmission, rightfully so. The 70-year-old rider died at the scene. Police say the triathlete was only 26, suffered several injuries. It's a shame. The camera operator was in shock and was taken to the hospital for treatment. I'm sure even if you weren't there, you all were in shock by it. That is a horrible thing to see, to witness. A closure of the racetrack was unavoidable in the area of the accident, said by the Hamburg police. The athletes had to get off in front of the accident. Oh boy. And Manchester City won the UEFA League Championship titles over Inter Milan this afternoon. Thank you, Devin. I was watching that game actually. The athletes had to get in front of the accident site and cross over the dike towards the direction of the city center. The racetrack had to be briefly diverted. The race was interrupted, but was able to resume later. I mean, ugh. I mean, that's just hard. That is just horrible to witness, though. I mean, it's kind of like with the Indy 500 witnessing a car crash, but this was, I think, even scarier. And this thing even happened on live TV, as it makes it even more scarier. Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, unfortunately, nobody saw it here in the States though, because I think it was, delayed. But just imagine the horror of watching that on live TV. Just imagine that. Yeah. Just not very many. So that's the good news. But still, to see something like that, that's horrible. On live television, no less. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so on to some good news now. Well, I think it's good news. The owners of the Panthers and Golden Knights are teaming up to donate 100 grand to organizations serving veterans at the end of this year's finals. Knights owner Bill Foley and Panthers owner Vincent Viola announced the donation back on Sunday. Knights and their donation, and both are guaranteed graduates of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Foley went on to serve in the Air Force, while Viola went on to serve in the Army. The owners chose the organizations that will receive the donation from the other owner. As a result, Viola and the Panthers will contribute to the Folded Flag Foundation, and the Knights will make a donation to the Golden Star Teen Adventures. I think it's a nice gesture from both gentlemen. You know, rivals on the ice, but working together off the ice. So I think that that's qualified as the good news story of the week. And I think, like I said, it's a nice gesture from both coaches and both teams. It just sort of show that not everything is all about beating somebody up or getting plastered after the event and whatnot after a big game. So it's nice to see there is some good news in the sports world. Okay, Mike Babcock is expected to be the next head coach of the Blue Jackets. Good luck with that. Ooh, oh boy. Sources told ESPN last week. The news was reported by TSN, the Canadian version of ESPN. Babcock last coaching job was with the Maple Leafs for 5 seasons before being fired in 2019. He signed an 8-year deal with the Leafs that would have expired on June 30th of this year anyway, which he's expected to join the Blue Jackets by then. The Blue Jackets are still working out the details of the next coach's and won't confirm that it was Babcock. The previous coach, Brad Larson, was fired after just 2 seasons. The Blue Jackets missed the playoffs for the third straight season, with the worst record in the East and second in franchise history. That was after they signed winger Johnny Gaudreau to a 7-year deal to join such stars as Patrick Laney and defenseman Zach Werenski, who was limited to 13 games due to injury. Babcock has had an impressive career coaching wise. Coached 1,301 games with the Leafs, the Red Wings, Taylor, and the Ducks, who won a Stanley Cup with the Red Wings in 2008, and coached Team Canada to gold in 2010 and 2014, which we could have won in 2010 but lost in overtime. So all I can say is we have to blame Canada. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Babcock has found a home once again. Yeah. Well, I mean, the Blue Jackets could sure use some, a better season what they went through this year. I mean, this was just horrible. Just a miserable season they had right there. Hmm. Yes, they do. Devils had a good season, so hopefully they will be able to match that next year. Okay, on to baseball. Dodgers left-hander Julio plays. I know, I heard. You want to reiterate on that, Die? Oh yeah, Severson. I heard. Yeah, I know you're disappointed in that. Yeah, especially after the Devils had such an amazing season. Getting to the second round of the playoffs because nobody thought they were going to get that bad, get that good, and have this down happening now. Yeah, so I sympathize with you Devils fans out there. So Severson, and the Devils got let's just say they got the raw end of the deal. Well, because I don't think really got anybody that good, but to have him lost, that game, I mean to lost. Well, I'm trying to get to that. My notes get so mixed up. They don't only stay the same. Wonder why that is. Hmm. Yeah. All right. 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 Well, that's what happens when you do like 80, 85 notes in a week. Okay. So I'll move on. So Julio Urias is coming off the injured list for his is not coming off the injured list for his scheduled start tomorrow, which was against the Phillies after feeling discomfort in his strained left hamstring. That's said by manager Dave Roberts. He suffered the setback during a bullpen session on Thursday and will miss at least a week or two. Urias has been out with the hamstring since May 18th, which seems like a long time ago, but it really isn't. He will keep throwing, said Roberts, but I think when he tries to ramp up his intensity is when he starts feeling the soreness, the tightness rather than his hamstring. He is mediocre this season with a 5.4 record and a 4.39 ERA in 55 innings and 10 starts. His recovery will likely be a rehab stint in the minor leagues, as is per custom with all pitchers getting injured. On the brighter side, Padres ace pitcher UV Darvish pitches into the sixth inning to earn his 100th victory of his career last night as the Padres beat the Rockies. Excuse me. Padres went on to oh boy. The Padres went on a home run derby as Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Gary Sanchez, a former Yankee that is, Trent Grisham, and Brandon Dixon all went deep and won consecutive games for the first time since May 25th and 26th. However, the win did not come easy as he gave up 4 runs on 5 hits and walked 4, but did strike out 6 in 5.5 innings of work. So good news, bad news. Jake Cronenworth had hit his second straight game after only hitting 198 in his first 60 games, and after missing the last 4 as he had attended to soreness in his left wrist. Alexander Bogaerts had 2 runs and 2 hits, hitting his first double since May 14th, and Machado hit his 12th home run of the year, but it was his first since May 9th. Sanchez has 5th home run of the year, and it was Dixon's second. Hey, Gary, why don't you come back to New York? Nah, probably won't. Yeah. Josh Hader picked up his fourth, a third round pick to be named later. Right. Yeah. Josh Hader picked up his 14th save of the year, forcing Elias Diaz to ground into a force out with runners on first and third. Okay, the Pirates, who are the surprise team of the year, well, they got a little bit of a setback as right-handed pitcher Vince Velasquez is done for the year as he underwent elbow surgery. He began his second stint on the injured list because of elbow inflammation on May 28th. He was reinstated the day before to make a start against the Mariners, but gave up 4 runs on 7 hits in 2 innings in a 5-0 loss. Ugh. Velasquez is 4-4 with a 3.86 ERA in 8 starts in his first season with the Pirates after signing a 1-year deal in the offseason. And overall, though, his record is pretty miserable at 38-51 with a 4.88 ERA and has 144 starts in 191 career games. Ish. Not great, not spectacular. I'll put it to you that way. All right. Any Red Sox fans in the house? Okay, good. All right. So Chris Sale will be sidelined again and for a long period of time as he heads to the 60-day DL injured list, I should say. The Red Sox confirmed the news yesterday. You can't say DL list anymore. Sale was forced to leave a June 1st start against the Reds with an injury that sent him to the 15-day injured list. A day later, a move that was described as a gut punch, considering his past injuries. Additional tests revealed a stress reaction. Sale is an accident ready to happen. He has not played injury free in 6 years. He had been sent to the injury list in each of his past 5 seasons and missed all of 2020 after going Tommy John surgery. I'm surprised with a track record like that, he's still playing. I mean, he keeps getting injured anyway. Yeah, but that's not going to happen. Oh, I see what's happening. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, yeah. When he was healthy, yeah, right. But yeah. Okay, I see what's happening here. The margin isn't going all the way through. I get it now. Okay, now I see what the problem is. Yeah, right. That's the problem. And DeAndre Hopkins is scheduled to visit the Patriots next week. Sources told ESPN. Hopkins was released by the Cardinals on May 26th and is set to be first with the Titans at some point this week. Head coach Bill Belichick admired Hopkins, and receiver Kendrick Bourne, who was still trying to find his identity, said he welcomes the possibility of Hopkins joining the team. You guys get Bourne identity? Okay, moving on. Bourne said, I am a D Hop fan. After the organized activity, it would be great. I don't get the gist of what's happening, but he is a great player. Anything that can help us win, I'm all for it. Bourne is one of the Patriots' top 4 receivers that also include DeAndre Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Tyquan Thornton. The Patriots also get 2 receivers in the 6th round in the April draft, Keyshawn Boot of LSU and Demario Douglas of LSU. The Patriots have the salary cap flexibility with about 13 million in cap space. Well, lucky for you. All right, and the saga with the Oakland A's continues with Vegas as the the Nevada State Senate adjourned on Thursday without voting on a bill to finance the $1.5 bazillion stadium for the A's, extending a special legislative session to next week amid negotiations on whether to contribute 380 million in public funding to the project. Okay. The measure can be amended by lawmakers, and if it passes the Senate, it still needs to pass the Assembly before going to the desk of Governor Joe Lombardino, who has expressed nope, express word. I'm not surprised. Both the both the Senate and Assembly are adjourned until Monday, at least. In a hearing that began on Wednesday and stretched into the early hours of Thursday, lawmakers questioned tourism and a representative from the firm, uh, partnering with the ball club, about the feasibility of financing the deal. The A's reached agreement with Bally's Gaming and Leisure Properties on May 15th on a 35-acre site on the Vegas Strip. Just when you thought we heard the last of it, nope, another loophole happens in this latest soap opera. Yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen this on Monday. Yeah, do you think it's gonna kill this deal? And if so, what happens to the A's with this point? I mean, it's just game becoming like a comic tragedy here with this Oakland A's team. Nobody goes to their games, pretty much. You know, they got to get out of that stadium. They have to leave Oakland, which is also a shame too, because Oakland was once a proud uh, sports fran- sports franchise city, and all of a sudden they just collapsed and folded up and died. Yeah, yeah. So we can only ponder what's going to happen next. Yeah. Yes. And the Vikings informed Dalvin Cook that he has been released by the team. The Vikings are expecting to trade Cook one more time. Actually, that happened on Thursday. And if they're able to, they plan to process his release, which was happened yesterday, according to a source. Yeah, of course, we'll have to see what happens on that. Right. Okay. I believe it would be. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I would have to say that would be. They have faith in that, so we'll just have to hope for the best on that. Okay. Hey, tennis, anyone? I got some French Open news here. Tomorrow we could see history as the Joker, Djokovic, will be trying for his record-breaking 24th Grand Slam title as he defeated Wonder Boy Carlos Alcaraz in four sets to advance to tomorrow's final against Casper Ruud, the friendly ghost, which will take place tomorrow. Rafael Nadal, who shares the record, had withdrawn from the tournament this summer for this tournament because of a hip injury. So we could see a new leader tomorrow for Grand Slam titles. I only follow tournaments during the majors, but this one I think I might keep my eye on. I mean, it's history in the making, folks. What can I say? Yes, yes. Even for non-tennis fans. Okay. In the women's department, Inga Swiatek outlasted Carolina Muchnova to win her third French Open title in three sets and her fourth Grand Slam. However, before she won, she had seemed lost. She had seemed to have lost her confidence, and her strokes became weary, and her lead was shrinking. So much was a miss right up until she was two games away from a defeat against the unseeded challenger. Then, when she needed most, Swiatek felt like her old self again, playing like a top-ranked player should. She overcame a two-set crisis and a third-set deficit to defeat Carolina, which is actually spelled with a K, not with a C. So congratulations on that. All right. Uh, okay, I got some women's news here. I know we don't follow much of this, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. In the women's softball series, history Oklahoma's historic run this softball season concluded on Thursday with a 3-1 win over Florida State of the Women's Softball World Series. This was their third straight win and seventh overall. But looking back on those seven titles set by Patty Gastineau, this was the most challenging of all. I think by far this was the roughest one that we had to get through, just because of the fact the fans and the growth of the sport comes a lot of pressure. And I think we felt that, and I think they felt it too. Hardly a week has gone by in the last 2 months when Gasso and our team have not been reminded of their winning streak that they have beaten. They've been on in beating FSU as they stretched their record to 53 straight wins. Oklahoma became the first team to win three straight since UCLA back in 1990. Their winning percentage of 984 with a 61-1 record is the best in Division One history. How about that? Only UCLA with 10 and Arizona with 8 have more softball titles. Okay, college baseball, guys, because I know that, well, I know we don't get a lot of attention that here in this part of the country, but it is the playoffs. So I thought, we'll just touch on it as we're now into the super regionals. Okay. Now we don't have a lot of time, guys, so don't take too long on your predictions here. So right now, between Southern Miss and Tennessee, Steve, who do you got? I thought you'd say that. Matt, of course. All right. Taylor, Gerald, do I have to ask? Right. Alex and Diane. Make it unanimous. Tennessee it is. All right. Next game. Right down the bottom first. Florida and South Carolina. Steve, what do you got? Okay. Yeah, you're probably right. I think you would go Florida. All right. Matt, Gerald, Taylor, Alex, Diane. Florida it is. Okay. Next up, coming up at 6 o'clock, Texas, Stanford. Oh, Cheryl, I wonder who you're going to take. Gerald? Gerald? Yeah, yeah, of course. All right, Alex, Steve, Steve. Okay. Okay, Taylor, Diane. Did I get Matt on that one? It's Texas and Stanford. There's one in every crowd, folks. There's one in every crowd. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna go with Texas. This looks like a good upset. Okay, good matchup here coming at 8 o'clock. Kentucky versus LSU. Steve. All right. Oh, we got two. We got a few more. Okay. Taylor. All right. Matt. Diane. Gerald. And Alex. I'm gonna go with LSU. All right. Indiana State versus TCU. That's Indiana State now. Let's keep that in mind. All right, Steve. Well, it's Indiana State, but I get it. All right, Taylor. All right, Matt. Diane. Alex. And Gerald. I'm gonna go with Indiana State too. And Oregon versus Oral Robert. Football. Oregon, Oral Roberts. Oh boy. Okay. Steve. I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that. I knew it was going to happen. I knew someone was going to say that. Okay. Taylor. All right. Matt. Uh-huh. Oh, I get it. Alex. Yeah. Alex. Gerald. Diane. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. I think we're going to be all cracked up about that. So I'll take Oregon. Oh, boy. And earlier today, Wake Forest beat Wake Forest beat and Wake Forest beat Alabama 5-4. Thank you. Wake Forest beat Alabama 5-4. So Wake Forest as the number one seed still continues. I think we all could have picked out Wake Forest in that one. And Virginia all over Duke 14-4. Personally, I think Duke should stick the basketball. Duke should stick the basketball, not baseball. Could be worse though. It could be Vanderbilt. Oh boy. Well, that's it. Well, they're I had to do it. All right, so right, yeah, I know. And the Broncos head coach Sean Payton promised there'll be a term on the roster in the weeks to come as they add Frank Clark, longtime defensive end, to a one-year deal. That according to sources. Clark's deal could be worth the 7.5 million and is guaranteed 5.5 million. He was released by the Chiefs on March 1st after failing to come to terms with his agent on a reworked deal. The Broncos may have room on the depth chart, given and the linebacker is linebacker Baron Browning, who has not taken part on the field in OTAs, recently underwent knee surgery to repair some cartilage, and Randy Gregory had an injury hit 2020 season with a knee injury. So we have to think about that. Okay. Yeah. That happens sometimes, guys. So, okay. Sabrina Lescanu scored a career 37 points as Liberty defeated the Atlanta Dream. Thank goodness. And thanks to that victory, the Liberty had their first 100-point game of the season. Lescanu made 10 of 18 shots from the field, including 8 for 13 from the 3-point line and 9 for 10 from the free throw line. Brianna Stewart scored 25 points and 9 rebounds. Jaquel Jones scored 11 points, and Courtney Vandersloot 11 assists for the Liberty. Thank goodness. And Liberty are now 5-2 in the season, which makes it even better. Ozzie Sims signed a deal with the Dallas Wings for the rest of the season. The Wings made the announcement on Wednesday. They were granted a salary cap because the Wings only had 9 players on the roster. Sims was in action last Wednesday as the Wings hosted the Mercury, and Brittany Griner returned to her home state of Texas, as Griner missed all of last season as she was detained in Russia. Sims and Griner were teammates on the 2012 Baylor Championship women's team that went 40-0. That's right, 40-0. Griner was a top pick in 2013, and Sims was drafted second in 2014, as she was drafted by the Tulsa Shock, which moved to Dallas in 2016 and became the Dallas Wings. All right, I'll see if I can do some brief moments in history. By the way, guys, next week is going to be a special show, so I hope you're all going to tune in, or at least look it up on the on YouTube or whatever. It is going to be a special show. I'm not going to go into details of what it was, though some of you already know, but I like to keep it a surprise. Yes, okay, guys, but I'll go into more detail that next week. Okay, full detail. Oh boy. Yes, it is, but I'll explain in more detail about that next week. I know, right? But it's like I said though, it is a milestone. So but I thank you for coming in this week, Taylor. All right, so quick sports history notes here, as we're not going to go through the whole list because that would take forever. All right, we only got 5 minutes anyway. So let me just find some quick notes here. LPGA Championship. Louise Suggs won her 10th major of the year by 3 strokes over Whitby Smith. 1948, Indians Rocky Calabado hits his 4 home runs in one game in a win over the Orioles. In 1962, a one-day record 54 home runs were hit in baseball. Wow. Yeah. 1974, Philly slugger Mike Schmidt hits a ball on the public address speaker hanging from the Houston Astrodome roof. Oh, wow. That's something. Yankees trade Ken Holtzman for Ron Davis in 1970. I remember that. The Orioles pulled off their 8 triple play 5-4-3 versus the Indians back in 1979. You now call them the Guardians. Chris Evert dominates over Wendy Turnbull of Australia in 2 sets for a third French Open singles crown. Pete Rose ties Stan Musial's record of 3,630 hits in 1981. I remember that. Yvonne Lendl wins his first career Grand Slam, beats John McEnroe in 5 sets in the 84 French Open. McEnroe still was complaining, "That ball was out. What are you nuts? Come on, that's not right. That ball was out." Sorry, I had to do it. Okay, so much for my McEnroe impersonation. Right. At the 121st Belmont back in '89, Pat Day aboard Easy Goer wins the Derby. Easy Goer. What a name. 1989 French Open. Uh, Anastasia Sanchez Picaro of Spain won her first Grand Slam over Steffi Graf in 3 sets, 7-6, 3-6, 7-5. 1990, the Detroit Pistons beat the Blazers for the first time since 1974. The best things come to those who wait, right, folks? Right. And Andres Gomez of Ecuador won his first and only Grand Slam title as he beat Andre Agassi in the 1990 French Open. Wow, that long ago. 1994, Jennifer Capriati checks out of a drug abuse clinic. And in 1996, aha. Oh, yeah, I was up all night on this one. Remember this one, guys? Admiring Yui Krupp's unassisted goal in triple overtime gives the Colorado Avalanche a 1-0 win over the Florida Panthers in a 4-game sweep that ended at 1:15 a.m. that morning. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for me because Rasal's going to come up next. And I don't want to take any of his time. So, on that note, I bid you all a pleasant week. And don't forget about next week's show because it's going to be very special. So, I hope you all tune in on that one. So, on that note, good night. Have a good week, everybody. You got it. After game 4. All right.